Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for this month's new issue of The Walking Dead comics, or issue 177. This one was really mostly checking in with characters, but also introducing us to Mercer, and actually I think he might be supposed to be not necessarily a bad guy, but maybe an antagonist, but I kind of feel for the guy. I don't know how much I dislike him. But starting from the beginning, we had the Mercer cover. He looks really cool, but that armor, I don't know. The armor still is a little bit goofy to me. It looks like he's in some kind of Shredder cosplay because he has those claws on the backs of his hands. So it does look a little bit ridiculous, I'll admit. And it seems like if you go back and look at the cover, the axe in his left hand is really off. It's like Adler draws it, right? It's like they just drew his clenched fist and then went back in later and sort of tried to draw it to make it look like he was holding an axe later on. So yeah, the axe in his left hand seems kind of off. But either way, art critique from a guy who can't even draw anything near that aside. Getting into the actual issue, we start off with Rick reacting to some poetry from Mikey. I like this. I like that we're building a relationship here between Rick and Mikey. And it's sort of brought up that when Rick is like, you should never be ashamed to put your feelings out there and talk about your feelings, he can't take his own advice when it comes to Andrea. He can't really get his own feelings out there and express them in that way through poetry or where to begin or anything he brings up. He can't do any of that he himself is telling Mikey to do. Back at the hilltop, Eduardo walks in on Maggie and Dante getting it on in a really kind of odd place, in my opinion, because it seems like there should be a lot more places they could have done that somebody probably wouldn't have walked into, as compared to the closet, where if they're rebuilding, you would think maybe they would be getting stuff out of that pretty often even. So it seems like kind of a weird place to do things, but Dante just is trying to tell Maggie she doesn't have to be ashamed or sorry for any of this. She doesn't have to be. She doesn't have to be ashamed to be happy or to move on. So I think it's good. It's still showing that Maggie is having trouble moving on, and Dante's trying to bring her back from that. I like them as a couple, but I also like that time is being taken with this. Then jumping back over, we have these new characters, Kayla and Sebastian, that look like they're on some 1950 shit. I'm not gonna be not gonna lie here, but they are idiots, paying no attention, and just kind of jerks in general, the way they treat Mercer. But Mercer's guarding him because he's the governor's son, and I feel really bad for Mercer here. But I do love the one page where he's apologizing, and you see Mercer at the top of the hill apologizing, and just the bodies of walkers all behind him. That was really, really good. Michonne goes to Elodie's. It's kind of disconcerting to me that Elodie didn't just give her a, yeah, they're good people, but instead went all the philosophical route of, well, are there really any good people? You'd figure you would first start with, yeah, these guys are okay, and then move on to that. She did say, oh, it's better than being outside, but that's not saying too much about the people there. It's got me a little bit worried. We learned that Colette didn't make it, and we get the backstory behind that, and it's essentially the same as Abraham's. It's Abraham 2.0. She said, oh, they made us do stuff with them and then killed my family member when they didn't, or some such whatever. Well, it's similar but different, because I guess they didn't kill Abraham's family. I think Abraham's family just left after he killed the people. Or maybe I'm getting it confused with the show's version, which was just kind of implied. So yeah, the show just kind of implied it, and maybe I'm getting some details confused there. But this is basically the same, because Elodie ended up killing that group after they did things to them. And I can assume you can guess what those things are. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't think it's bad that they're kind of rehashing this. Because simply put, you would think stuff like that, crappy things already happen in the world, zombie apocalypse, stuff like that, probably isn't too super rare to assume that it wouldn't happen in two different instances. I just think it's interesting that she has the same backstory as Abraham, essentially. Except more deeply involved, since it happened to her, I guess, and not to her family. Though it's still bad either way. But pretty similar. Mercer then gets bitched at by the governor lady for even being in the dangerous situations. He can't catch a break either way, and honestly, I feel for the guy. I like the governor lady, but I feel for Mercer. So George, some other guy, says they would back him up if he made a move, and I'm assuming they is referring to the army. If not, just basically most of the people in the community. Probably just the army, though. That they'd back him up. Mercer says we probably wouldn't even have to make a move, to be honest. These people will just get themselves killed. We could just sit back, watch, and then have what's left. And then Awkward Sadiq was in the room. Hope nothing bad happens to Sadiq. I'm kind of conflicted here, because I feel like Mercer's gonna be a bad guy. We don't know that much about him yet. But at the same time, I sympathize with the guy. So either way, it was a good issue. We got a lot of hinting at stuff for the future with the Dante and Maggie and stuff, and more with Mercer and with the stuff happening with the Commonwealth. But in addition to that hinting at stuff, I think the biggest part of the issue was just checking in on different characters. Just saying, here's Rick, we haven't really seen him that often since the whole Andrea thing, so here's Rick again, this is what he's doing. Here's Maggie, here's what she's doing. We haven't seen her since the Negan stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what they went for here, and I didn't think it was bad. I'd give this a 7.5 revamped histories out of 10. Yeah, 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Even though it was pretty simplistic, it was just solidly good. Nothing incredibly great. So either way, I guess, if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this issue, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more TV show and the comics. Cover both of them on the channel. Reactions and reviews for the comics and just reviews for the TV show. Not gonna talk about Fear, at least I don't plan to right now. I like the show, but it just isn't something I feel like reviewing, I guess. And I feel like making myself review it would maybe make me enjoy it less. So I'm just going to stick to not reviewing Fear. So follow on Twitter if you want to. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server, you can ask and I'll give you one. That's it. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.